Hi everyone, it's Kristen and welcome to the Raise More Funds module. I'm so excited that you are here with me and we're going to kind of take a little journey on fundraising. So I'm really excited. We have a lot to talk about. I was originally attempting to keep this module at about an hour of length. I don't think we're going to make it that. So I'm breaking everything down into smaller sessions so you can just watch one and then take a breather and then come back and watch another one, hopefully a few hours later or a day later. So to help kind of explain the fundraising process, I made a journey map for us because really fundraising it's a journey. It's a process. It is not, there is not quick fixes. Trust me. I would love to know if there was, one thing you could do that suddenly would change everything about your organization's fundraising capacity, right? Or if you'd be able to do this one thing, you'll be able to raise millions of dollars. Now, there are a lot of things that I think that get you to that point. I think one of them is having a sound strategic plan, knowing who you are, knowing what you do and what you don't do, and being able to prove that you serve this audience and you do it better than everybody else, that you have this value that you bring, that you're innovative, that certainly helps. But you also need to have your story. You need to have your narrative, how you're communicating to supporters. But you can't just have a good story and not have a good system and have no follow through, no follow up. Because you might get a pledge or a commitment, but then you've never followed up with that supporter to make sure they fulfilled. I see this all the time. And I've seen it over the years. I'll meet somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's a credible fundraiser. They walk into a room and people are just throwing money at them. And, I have a friend who leads another pro-life organization. And, she kind of like brags on her staff when she hires team members. And she's like, this person's incredible. Did you know they worked here? And they're going to raise me so much money. And our organization's going to grow. It's going to be amazing. And I remember one time I was having a conversation with her and I was like finding myself to be jealous. Like, man, like, why couldn't I attract that type of employee? And like, what is she doing right that I'm doing wrong? And I was kind of jealous that she had hired this this expert in fundraising who's gonna come in and raise her all this money. Guess what? 6 months later, I saw her at another event and I asked her, I said, how are things going with so-and-so? And she said, oh, what a hack. He was terrible. He didn't do anything you say he was going to do. So then I was like, oh, okay, I dodged a bullet. But I think what she had fallen into was this kind of thing of, well, I can just hire this one person who might be excellent at delivering a pitch, right? And making our organization and our mission and the problem we set out to solve be the most important thing to that supporter. But maybe that person isn't very good with follow-up, with process, with communicating with smaller donors who may be only able to give $25 a month, but over the lifetime of their lifetime giving and maybe through their legacy giving might actually become one of your biggest donors you've ever had, right? So there's not a silver bullet. I really, truly wish there were to fundraising. So what I tried to do is I put together a journey map. We're going to talk about this map and we're going to go in depth on it. I'm going to talk about each step on it. I'm not going to have enough time to really get into some of the nuts and bolts like I would like to. I think there might be, depending on your all's reaction to this module, depending on the questions you ask, I think there might be an opportunity for us to kind of create some more expanded training. I've actually been writing just a major giving module, just on major giving. And I think I'm over 10 pages right now. So that's going to be hours long. So that might be coming in the future. So I'd love to hear your feedback. as you kind of go through this. I want to know what your questions are, what I've explained that maybe I didn't explain so well that you need some more clarification on. Definitely give me your feedback, because I'd love to see what is it that you need more information on, or what you need more examples or more connections with. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here. And we're on the Raise More Funds module. All right. So this is your fundraising journey map. So I made this up myself. I was searching for a way to kind of explain to you. Here, I'll move myself over. I was searching for a way to kind of explain to you the process of fundraising. This is something that I truly wished when I launched our organization that I had known a lot of this information. A lot of it kind of came piecemeal, or from one training that I attended, or a webinar I went to, or a book I read. But I was always very frustrated because I never felt like the information was presented in like one spot. So here it is. Now, I can't go super in depth in one spot, but this is the fundraising journey. I think when you look at fundraising, and you look at organizations that have successful fundraising efforts, I think it really boils down, and I mentioned this in the masterclass, to 3 things: passion, process, and people. 3 things. And the people can be supporters, which I just have here in the journey map, but it also can be your people and the people who are doing the fundraising. Passion, process, and people. That's fundraising. And that's what you have to have. To have a successful fundraising operation, you've got to have these things. So we're going to talk today in this session just about the first little box here. This is knowing their why and knowing your why. This is really critical. And if you've gone through the strategic planning module, the achieving more results module, you should be able to answer most of these questions by now. But this is key because you've got to develop your pitch. You have to be able to have a story that you can deliver, whether it's in person on major giving appointments and asks, or if it's online, if it's on social media, if it's just like a quick banner ad, if it's in the mail, if it's on the phone. You have to have a story that you can tell, and you can tell in multiple mediums, and then you can, expand and contract as needed. So why? This is critical, okay? You've got to know, why are supporters giving to you? What gets them motivated about what you do? What will happen if they don't support you? What is the fear that they have if you aren't there responding to this problem in your community? So that's that price of inaction. How are you unique? How do you measure success? We already talked about these in achieving more results. What are the 3 top things you do? If you ask one of your supporters, what are the 3 things that your organization does, would they be able to tell you the 3 top things? Do you communicate that well enough? Or do you maybe only talk about 1 thing? Or maybe you talk about 20 things and they couldn't tell you what's the most important. This one is an interesting one. I actually put it on the last one. What would you do with $1 million gift today? I actually put this on one of our fundraising materials, on one of our one-pagers a couple years ago. At the bottom I said, if given $1 million today, we would 1, 2, 3. And some of the other fundraisers in the crowd were like, whoa, because this is a common fundraising kind of question. It was popular a few years back. I saw it a lot. And actually, I met with a vendor, so a direct mail vendor, about 1.5 years ago. And I sat down. He was sort of interviewing me to decide if he wanted to work with us, if we were kind of worth the risk. And that was one of the questions. He said, well, what would you do, Kristen, if you got $1 million gift? And I immediately could tell him. And that showed him that I was thinking about these 7-figure gifts, that I clearly had a vision for where I want my organization to go and where I wanted us to be moving towards. So you've got to know the answers to these questions. Why do your supporters give to you? What is their fear if they don't give? What do they receive if they do give to you? Now, for a lot of your supporters, they sacrificially give to you. So they're not looking for the really nice tote bag, or even putting their name on, plaque outside of, the counseling room. In fact, I have many supporters who are like, please don't let my name be anywhere. I can't have my name be anywhere. So it's not the, tangible thing, holding their hand thing that they get, but what do they receive? What sort of satisfaction do they get? What kind of hope do they get? What is the price of their inaction? What are you trying to accomplish? How do you plan to get there? How are you unique? How do you measure success? What are the top 3 things you do? And what would you do with $1 million gift today? If you can answer all of those questions, if you can answer those, you'll be able to move on to the next section of developing your pitch. But you definitely have to be able to answer these questions, because I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how fancy your materials may be or how beautifully designed your annual report could be. You can have all these savvy things, but lack substance. Don't be the one of those people that does style over substance. And this happens a lot. I'll see an organization and I'll see their website or something they've done digitally. I'm like, wow, they must have it all together. This is amazing. And I'm kind of jealous. Why am I not doing that well? And I go to their site and I start clicking around and I realize I don't think they know what they do. Or if they do, they're certainly not communicating it well. They failed to make that connection. They got me here, but then they failed to actually convert me to becoming a supporter, or even being willing to sign up to join their email list. So it doesn't matter how, savvy. To be honest with you, it doesn't have to be super savvy, like the most polished materials. The one pager I showed you in the Achieving More Results, the organizational one pager, that is not a very sexy document. There's no, high level graphics on it or anything. But that document could be revolutionary for your organization. Something we're going to talk about soon is about, the story brand. And what's your story? It's part of your pitch. So another question that you're definitely going to want to have to answer, it's over here, is the villain, victim, and hero. Who's the villain in your story? Who's the victim, and who's the hero? You definitely want to know that, because every good story has a villain, victim, and hero. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to developing your pitch in the next session. So I hope you're ready. Make sure in the next session you've got a pen and paper, and so you can start kind of drafting out your pitch, because that's going to be really important. Stay tuned.